Welcome back, guys, to yet another World of Warcraft The War Within beta video. Today we're going to be talking about herbalism and mining and what they're currently looking like on the beta, now that we have more of a closer look at what they can do. For anyone that did play in Dragonflight, the systems are not a complete copy and paste, but they're pretty close. We still have the overloading system. We still have the multiple ranks of qualities in the materials. Obviously, we have a brand new slate of specializations, brand new slate of quality, and brand new herbs. And that goes for ores as well. If we look at the profession itself, there is one new interesting mechanic, and we'll talk more about this later, but we're going to start out looking at the spec trees, okay? Because as for how fast you can level it, how much experience and all that stuff, that's all still placeholder. We know, based on what Blizzard have said recently, that most of the spec trees for most of the professions are in a finalized state. They're just missing certain small changes and updates to some of the descriptions. But for what they are, they're probably going to stay the way that they are at the moment. So we can expect whatever we're seeing to be the outline of what we're going to have in the War Within. There is this particular spec tree here for overloading the underground. And this is everything overloading, right? This is the overloading mechanic we had in Dragonflight as well. If you find any of the empowered versions of the herbs, then you will be able to use this ability on those things. And this spec tree will make that better. The 4 different versions we have is irradiated, we have spore fused, we have altered, and we have crystallized. They're obviously a little bit different. Irradiated will blow you away, and they all give different kinds of materials as a bonus. And this spec tree will make that better, right? You can see the knockback explosion caused by gathering an irradiated herb has less of an effect, so you don't get blown back as much. You get more finesse, you get more skill, perception, and then you also see here the amount of overload cooldown refunded by gathering irradiated herbs is increased by a large amount. So depending on, which one you kind of want to go for first, that's what this tree is for. And you have spore fused, which is similar to what we had for Serralite glow spores in Dragonflight. And this has a hallucination mechanic. Some of these are more finished than others. I'm going to show a couple of them to you guys on the video as I'm talking about it, so you can get an idea of what they are. But this, again, it just makes you better at dealing with the mechanic that's attached to that specific kind of overloading, and then you get more skill, perception, finesse, all this stuff along with it. And the same thing goes for altered. And it's the same ordeal. The same skills, the same point for all of them, and they're just going to make you better at doing that particular kind of overloading. Very simple, very straightforward. Nothing really to think about here. Obviously, which one's going to be best is yet to be determined, because we don't really know what materials are going to do better than others, what herbs are going to be better than others, because material costs are not fully finalized yet in crafting professions, so it's hard to say for builds and things like that. So this is just a first impressions, kind of an overlook to give you guys an idea of what we can expect. Now, Botany is the other spec tree that we have in Herbalism, and this is if you just want to generalize how good you can get. It also says here, gather herbs while mounted, learn to plant and cultivate seeds at Belladar's Bounty and Hallowfall, increase your deftness, finesse, and perception while gathering herbs. This is a little mini game. It's kind of similar to the Half-Hill Farm in Pandaria, if any of you guys know what that is. You'll basically be able to plant similar to what we had in Dragonflight with rich soil. Instead of having to randomly find those at specific spawn points around the map, this will be at one particular space in Hallowfall, which is one of these zones here in the War Within. Then you can also increase your deftness, finesse, and perception while gathering herbs, and of course gather herbs while mounted. So this is generalized. You can get better at certain things. It also has the mulching tree, and this is really important, but I don't think that this is something that you want to go for first, just because this will use this is going to use herbs that you already have to gain more of a certain kind of herb. And I think early on, this is probably not the kind of talent tree you want to go for, but we'll look over it anyway. And this is giving you the option to learn mulching, right? And it's going to give you finesse. It's going to give you, as you can see here, your botanical knowledge allows you to activate your green thumb, getting double the herbs from your next gather. And then deftness, imbued mulch, perception, skill, finesse. So it's going to give you the 3 abilities that we looked at right here. This is all that is. And it's definitely interesting. I think it's a good way to get rid of some of the cheaper materials to turn them into better ones. It's going to be interesting to see how this turns out and how it gets balanced in terms of how many materials it's actually going to use. But still, it's yet to be seen. And then this is the real generalized look at getting better at herbalism. Increase your skill while gathering herbs. Increase the effect of finesse while gathering herbs. Learn to refine herbs into higher qualities. Gather the rare and elusive null lotus from additional sources. So obviously null lotus is the new super rare herb. It's the same in mining. We also have a null stone. Similar situation. This particular tree will make you better at dealing or collecting different kinds of herbs. So there's 5 different ones. We have Spear Scavenger, Orbinid Observer, Fungus Forager, Carnivorous Connoisseur. That's an interesting name. And Blossom Browser. As for mining, mining has the pretty much the same look that it did in Dragonflight. The same with herbalism. We're getting a new slate of material. We're still using the overload mechanic, and most of that stuff is pretty similar. For the specializations, we're looking at mastering the mysterious, mining fundamentals, and plethora of ore. And mastering mysterious, again, same with herbalism. This is going into the different kinds of overloaded herbs. That's the spec tree. Gets you better at dealing with those, gives you perception, skill, and finesse. Very much the same thing. Nothing new to see there. Then we have learn how to mine ore deposits while mounted, improve your finesse, deftness, and perception when mining in Castle Gar. Chunks of ore dislodged while mining can be mined for additional yield. So, again, this is very similar. Instead of having something like mulch, we have the seams, so like the bigger kinds of ore, which is, that's interesting. I think it's nice that this is still a thing, and most of these are going to be located in like caves and things like that. It won't be always out in the open world. As for what we saw in Dragonflight, it would be like in elite areas or specifically in caves again. And then we have plethora of ore, and this is your general spec tree where you have your refinement, you have your increase your skill, you have your ability to find null stones. Again, same with null lotus. That's going to be the rare material. And early on, you actually get something called imperfect null stones, where you can combine 5 of them to make an unblemished null stone, so an actual null stone. So the level up speed is going to be a little different from what we actually have seen in previously in Dragonflight. I guess it's somewhat similar, but so there's not really anything new for mining. As for the process, all of these herbs and ore, and I talked about that with the herbs as well, it is going to be in different zones. Each of these herbs and ores are going to spawn more in certain zones, and I actually like that aspect. It's something that I really didn't like too much with Dragonflight, is that we went patches on and on and on with not getting really stylized or themed herbs and ore. And I hope this isn't all that we have to see. I hope they make some new rounds of materials when we get into further content patches, because having a full expansion with barely getting anything new would be kind of boring. So hopefully that doesn't happen. I hope you guys enjoyed this first look at herbalism and mining. I know there's still a lot to uncover, and there's a lot that we're going to have to look at. The more and more finalized these professions are going to get, we're going to get closer to being able to make builds and leveling guides and all that stuff, and I'm really excited to do that. But for now, I'm not going to do it because a lot of this is still subject to change, so it's a little too early to tell what you're going to be able to do still. But if you guys have any questions, anything you want me to test, anything you want me to look at, make sure you drop that down in the comments below. But that's going to be everything that I have for this video. So before we end, make sure that you type, we're going to do beta. That's the new keyword. If you watched all the way to this point of the video, type beta down in the comments below. But I appreciate you guys for watching. Until the next one. See ya!